Welcome to the Esther Lewars YouTube channel, where I use this space to encourage you to be the best version of yourself. I'm making a concerted effort to record this video today because but it's sort of almost a year since my mother had her stroke, and it was October 14th, 2024. I've spoken about it before. I was teaching my last class. It was the middle of my last class at NJIT. My students were giving their presentations, and I got a call. It was like a number that I didn't have saved in my phone, but the number kept calling. So I responded, and, they're like, oh, the EMT's there. They found my mom on the floor, unresponsive. And they were going to take her to the emergency room. And so I said, okay, so I figured I'll finish class and then I'll go there. But the kids were presenting and I couldn't focus. And so I had to postpone the presentations, went to University Hospital in Newark to meet her. And so it's been 1 year, even though it's the 14th, as I said. I'm recording it today because, I feel like that Monday was like a pivotal time, and I remember it so well because, yes, I was teaching. And when I look back at this past year, my life has completely changed. Her life has changed. And, there are some things that I would recommend that you do if you have a parent that's getting up in age. So my mom is 82. And she's always been independent until she had her stroke. She was living by herself, not necessarily by herself, but she took care of herself, cooked her food, walked to church, walked to the store. And so she had an hemorrhagic stroke, which, was bleeding in the brain. Her left side was because after 1 year, she's doing great. She's doing amazingly well. She's even gained weight. She's now being, more talkative and responsive. Her leg is moving a little. Her hand is definitely moving. And, you can see her lift herself up sometimes. But she's been in bed. And after the stroke, we left University Hospital. We decided on rehab up in Madison. But then after she was there, she wasn't eating. So we had to take her to the hospital. Overlook. Took her there. They were ready to prescribe her for hospice and all that stuff. Looking rightly so. As the person who wrote the book, My Ultimate Self, How Death Became My Motivator. It's rightly so to think about the possibility of death. But we weren't ready yet. We weren't ready to let her go. And I'm going to cut the chronological info and say, the morning after her stroke, I went in my closet and I prayed. I prayed to God and I said, Lord, if anyone deserves a second chance, it's my mother. Not because she's my mother, but because she loved me so much. Always talking about God. Always, always, always. There's no conversation you have with my mother that does not end with God. Everything. You're talking about the sun. The sun relates to God. But you're talking about food, it's gonna come back to God. Everything come back to God. And so I was like, Lord, crying and in prayers. And I'm like, Lord, please, please, please. Save my mom, let her live, because being in the emergency room, it's that state where you don't know, right? When you get the news of someone who passed away, whether it's in a car accident or some other sudden way, it's like, okay, they're gone. But then when your loved one is in that state of uncertainty, you don't know. You're holding on. You're praying. And so when I prayed that morning. I came home like 2:30 and I prayed when I got up the following morning on October 15th, and God has answered my prayers. And so I say, this past year has not been easy. I would love to come here and say it's been an easy process, but it hasn't been. Whether it's, the family members who show up or don't show up, or having to deal with the medical teams and getting supplies and all the other things that comes with taking care of a loved one, hasn't been easy. But I prayed for God to keep her here. And so when God answers your prayer, guess what? You have to go with it, right? You have to commit to it, because that's what you ask for. You ask for the husband, you ask for the kids, you ask whatever it is that you ask for it, right? You get the problems and you get the things that come with it. And so don't complain. Just roll with it and continue to be thankful, because there's always something that you're learning in the process. All right. So I'm going to go back to the things that happened. So went to Overlook because she wasn't eating and we're concerned about her nutritional needs. They suggested that she get a pet tube so that she could get food. So we did that. We decided that we were going to find somewhere else, somewhere closer. So we found somewhere else closer. And a few weeks into her being there, there were things that happened along the way. And we noticed things, right? Like she wasn't being changed. We spoke to them, had meetings with the nursing director. But I got a call sometime in December. And they're like, oh, your mom has a 2-centimeter cut on her bottom. The Sunday, it wasn't a 2-centimeter cut. It was like this big thing, this spot on her. I'm like, how did this happen so quickly? And series of things that happened. So this 2-centimeter cut turned into this big wound. And it was in January when we're like, no, you guys are not doing what you're supposed to do to take care of it. It seems to be getting worse. So we're going to take her back to the hospital. So that was hospital trip number 3. And that was like January 6th when I took her to the hospital. It was like a snowy day. So this time I took her to St. Barnabas. And she was in the hospital for like 46 days. And during that time, she had surgery to clean out the wound. And because of the wound, because of its position in our sacral area, they recommended her to do a colostomy to prevent the wound from being infected further. And so there she is, had a stroke, has a pet tube, has a wound, and now we have to colostomy, right? And of course, even more so, they're like, oh, we want to put her on hospice. And there's nothing wrong with hospice. But I'm like, no, we're not ready. We're not ready for my mom. We're not ready to commit to her dying. And so after she left there, we're like, we're going to take her home, right? That's where she needs to be. That's where she should have gone in the first place. But, we thought rehab would be good for her to, never had this happen before, get her strength back, for her to walk again, because that's what we wanted to do, is to get her back to her old self. And so February 21st, I think, she came home, and I've been there by her side ever since. February 6th, I think I recorded a video. And in that, at the end, I said, oh, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go look for my mom, bring her home. Yes. And since then, I haven't done a video like this in this space. And so, it's been great to be there for her. We've had other hospital visits since then. So we went after St. Barnabas, that was number 3. Then we went to Beth Israel in Newark because one night I was there with her and she just started to cough and wouldn't stop and her heart was racing. I was like, oh my gosh, you look like you're gonna die. So we called 911 and her heart rate was way up. And yeah, so she was in the hospital for a while and, got her levels resituated. And I need to go back to the hospital again one more time because one evening I was feeding her in her, and the peg tube just clogged and nothing would go through. So, with that, it's possible that it could have gotten dislodged. So we don't know. So we took her back to the hospital. And that was like a 2-week thing. So she's been home ever since. I just make sure I check her pressure every morning. Like if I'm on duty that night, like 5:30, 6 o'clock, I get up, check her pressure, change our wound dressing if needs be. Give her food, give her medicine, blood pressure, heart rate medicine, and vitamins. And and then if I'm on duty, I'll relieve the aid in the evening and then, nighttime routine again, continue giving medicine, clean her up before bed. And sometimes she be coughing during the night. So, anytime if I hear like cough, like one time, like, okay, all right. Sometimes then I need to get up and check, make sure she don't have spit in her mouth. So I need to suction her. Sometimes she hold her saliva. So, I need to suction her, make sure she doesn't choke on her saliva. So so that's been the journey over the last year. And I am so grateful. I am extremely grateful to, my sisters that made themselves available virtually, in person, my nieces. But as the main caregiver, as I said, it's not easy, but it's a rewarding feeling to be there for her. For the person that gave me life, I am now able to pour life into her and to hear her speak and to express herself. It gives me joy. The other night, it just dawned on me, like I've been playing all this stuff on YouTube and I'm like, why am I not playing my YouTube channel stuff and get some hours, some watch hours? So anyways, I was playing it and I was cleaning her and she saw one of my videos on there and she said, pretty. I was like, oh, that was pretty. And I'm like, yes, mother, I am pretty. I'm your pretty daughter. In all seriousness, being the caregiver of an elderly person, it has put new meaning to what it means to be my ultimate self. Experiencing a family member die, it's a heart-wrenching experience, but to be there for someone you don't know if they're going to live, it's also another level of emotions and being able to recognize the value of life. Like my mom, was a stickler about things. Like when we were growing up, like at a certain age, like I couldn't wear pants or, certain things we couldn't do. And she's very herself. She carried herself in a regal manner. And I think about it, I'm like, my mom, anybody else, like the fanciness and going out, you have to buy a new dress and that. And that's nice. And it's good to treat yourself well. But when I see her just lying there, I am like, wow, life is simple, but we make it complicated. Like it all comes down to, do you have life? Do you have breath? Am I able to breathe? Am I able to walk? And so she's living and I'm grateful that she's alive. But it'd be good if she gets back and we're working on that. And I know God is going to do that. I believe that God is going to allow her to get back to that place. And her wound is almost closed up. Like in another month or so, it's gonna close up. So then she can get up and sit down and do all of that other stuff. We make life complicated, and we just need to return to basics. Find those people who are genuine, and situations like this will let you know who's truly there for you. And don't underestimate the value of family and friendships. Because the people who really care will show up when you need them the most. And please, please, please be that person who's going to show up for others. And the last thing I would say is, if you have an elderly parent that's healthy, that's important. Make sure they're eating right, make sure they're exercising, make sure that they're taking supplements and taking their vitamins and going outside and getting fresh air, and that they have a social life, keeping their brain active. Make sure that you're going to the doctor and getting their regular checkups and, making sure that if there's anything that's wrong, that you're taking care of it. She had an aide that came in to the house like 4 hours a day. And for some reason, she said she checked her pressure before she left and it was normal. So you know what happened that evening. And, that day I was off from work as well. And I wanted to stop there prior to going to NJIT, but I was, doing stuff here. I was, had a whole plan of my YouTube schedule and that I worked out that day. And so I was running late and I said, you know what, I even have some stuff from Costco that I was going to drop off. And I said, let me just go there after class. And so in addition to making sure that your loved ones are following up with their health, it's important to follow your mind, right? When you get those intuitions and something to do something, you need to follow because that's God speaking to you. So, how devastating it would have been if my mom had died that day. And I decided to go teach at NJIT. I didn't go see her because I was planning to go afterwards. So thank God she lived. But the spirit was telling me to go, but I was like, you know what? No, I need to get there on time. And so, yes, follow your spirit, listen to your heart, listen to that voice, and check up on your loved ones. Because you never know when something will happen. It would be the last time. The last time would be the last time that you would have seen them. So be blessed, be well, continue to be your ultimate self. I'm going to make something of this video because I was all over the place. But yeah, it's great to sit here and I'm going to try to get more content that's relevant to my initial story of loss and how do you overcome loss, how do you become your best self after going through challenges, like what are the things that you lost and how do you make that thing the impetus of what you use to drive your best self. Be blessed, be well, continue to be your ultimate.